My beloved brothers and sisters, this morning I want you to hear this deep in your spirit. God is not silent, God is not passive, and God is not blind. When narcissists rise in pride, when manipulators walk with arrogance, when the selfish elevate themselves above others, God is already working behind the scenes. You may not see it yet, but heaven is moving. The Lord who defends his children never sleeps. He knows every tear you cried, every moment you felt small, and every wound caused by the pride of others. Today, I want to reveal to you 5 things God always does to the narcissists, and as you hear this, may your spirit be strengthened, your heart be restored, and your confidence in God become unshakable. God exposes what was hidden in the darkness, and this truth is not just a promise. It is a divine law woven into the very character of God. He is a God of light, and wherever his presence enters, darkness loses its power to conceal. Many times, people who deal with narcissists feel confused, overwhelmed, and even spiritually suffocated because narcissists are experts at hiding their true intentions. They present a charming face to the world, a polished image designed to deceive, while behind closed doors they manipulate, twist, and harm without remorse. You may have wondered, why can't others see what I see? Why does it look like they always escape consequences? But my friend, God's timing is not your timing, and his methods are not limited by human perception. God reveals truth not when you demand it, but when it serves his purpose for your growth, protection, and testimony. There comes a moment in the life of every narcissist when the mask begins to crack. This is not because they suddenly become honest. It is because God himself begins to shine a light on their darkest corners. He exposes the hidden conversations, the whispered lies, the double lives, and the manipulative strategies that they thought were untouchable. God allows truth to rise to the surface like gold refined in the fire. He makes sure that their actions catch up with them. It may be through their own slip of the tongue, their own arrogance revealing itself, or circumstances aligning perfectly to reveal what they have been hiding. God does not need human help to expose darkness. He is the author of truth itself. You may be tempted at times to try to expose the narcissist yourself, to shout your truth into the world, to make everyone see what you have seen. But often this leads only to frustration because people who have not walked your path may not understand. That is why God says, "Be still and know that I am God." He does not ask you to fight a battle that belongs to him. He asks you to stand firm, hold on to your integrity, and trust that the light will come at the appointed time. And when it comes with clarity, with power, and with undeniable evidence. God's exposure leaves no room for excuses, no space for confusion, and no protection for falsehood. When God exposes a narcissist, it is not merely to bring justice, it is also to liberate you. Exposure breaks the chains of confusion. Exposure reveals what is real versus what is manipulation. Exposure restores your sense of reality and allows your spirit to breathe again. Many people underestimate how deeply narcissistic manipulation affects the mind. It creates fog, doubt, and emotional paralysis. But when God shines his light, that fog lifts. Suddenly, you see clearly. Suddenly, you understand what was happening all along, and with truth comes healing. The exposure of a narcissist is also a turning point in your spiritual journey. It teaches you discernment, it deepens your wisdom. It strengthens your faith, and it reminds you that no one can hide from God, not the proud, not the deceitful, not the manipulative. Even when people applaud the narcissist, even when society praises them, even when others believe their false persona, God sees beyond the surface. He looks at the heart, and his eyes penetrate every layer of deception. In the end, the exposure of a narcissist is not a moment of chaos. It is a moment of divine order. It is God rearranging the pieces, realigning your path, and removing what was meant to hinder your destiny. And as the truth comes out, you will realize something powerful. God was protecting you the entire time. He allowed you to see what others could not. He prepared your heart, and when the moment was right, He brought everything into the light. That is the faithfulness of God, and that is why you can trust Him with every hidden thing. When you have been wounded by a narcissist, it is easy to feel as though you are standing alone in a battlefield with no armor and no strength left to fight. Narcissistic abuse drains a person mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It makes you doubt your worth, question your reality, and sometimes even question whether God sees what you are going through. But hear this clearly: God does not abandon the innocent. God does not overlook the suffering of His children. God becomes a shield around those who have been targeted by the pride, arrogance, and manipulation of the narcissist. In the moments when you felt the weakest, God was already preparing a rescue. In the moments when you felt invisible, God was watching closely. In the moments when you didn't have words for your pain, God understood every detail. He does not ignore the cries of the wounded. He gathers them, He protects them, and He begins restoring what was taken. Narcissists often try to make you believe that you are powerless, but God sees you as precious. Narcissists try to tear down your identity, but God rebuilds it with truth. Narcissists use fear to control, but God fills your spirit with courage. There is something deeply comforting in knowing that when a narcissist attempts to crush your spirit, God steps in to lift it. When they try to isolate you, God surrounds you with His presence. When they try to silence your voice, God whispers purpose back into your heart. The protection of God is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is the quiet peace that steadies your trembling hands, the strength that helps you rise again, and the clarity that tells you that you are not who the narcissist says you are. God protects the innocent in ways that often go unseen. Sometimes He closes doors you begged Him to open because He knew a narcissist was waiting behind them. Sometimes He removes people from your life that you thought you needed because He knew they would harm you. Sometimes He delays certain blessings because He knew a narcissist would try to take credit for them or sabotage them. These moments may feel painful, confusing, or unfair at first, but later you begin to see that God's protection was woven into every step you took. God does not only protect your physical life, He protects your emotional and spiritual life as well. He shields your mind from collapsing under pressure. He guards your heart from becoming bitter, and He strengthens your soul so you can keep standing even after everything tries to break you. There is a reason people survive narcissistic environments when logically they should not. The torment, the psychological games, the emotional traps, none of these are small things, but God's strength becomes the secret power within you. You may not have noticed it in the moment, but every time you rose after being pushed down, every time you chose kindness when you were shown cruelty, every time you held on to hope in seasons of despair, that was God fortifying you. It was God telling your heart, you will not break, you will not be defeated, you will not lose yourself. And God does not merely protect, He restores. Narcissists steal energy, confidence, peace, and joy. But God gives back what was stolen, multiplied. He heals the wounds that people cannot see. He breathes life into places that were suffocated. He repairs your self-worth until you begin to see yourself not through the eyes of the narcissist, but through his eyes, fearfully and wonderfully made, chosen, loved, and worthy of honor. God's protection is not just a barrier, it's a promise that you will not be destroyed by what tried to harm you, a promise that the pain you endured will not be wasted, a promise that your future will not be determined by someone else's cruelty. And as God strengthens the wounded, he makes sure that what once broke you will one day become your testimony of victory. Narcissists spend their lives crafting strategies, manipulating outcomes, and setting traps designed to elevate themselves at the expense of others. They believe they are the architects of their own destiny, untouchable in their schemes and above consequences. But what they never understand is that there is a greater architect, God, who sees every motive, every plan, and every hidden intention. And when the proud begin to weave webs meant to entangle others, God begins reversing, rearranging, and dismantling their schemes in ways they never expected. This is why the people of God can walk with quiet confidence, even in the presence of those who attempt to sabotage them, because heaven always outranks human pride. A narcissist may spend months or even years plotting emotional traps. They study your weaknesses, your kindness, your silence, and your loyalty. Also, they can use it against you. They think they are clever, but God sees the end from the beginning. He knows how their minds operate, he sees the poison behind their smiles, and he listens to the thoughts they whisper in secret. And while the narcissist is busy designing destruction, God is already writing the escape plan. Their strategies are like towers built on sand, strong for a moment, but destined to collapse when God sends the right wave at the right time. There are moments in life when you may feel like the narcissist is winning, when every trap they set seems to be working, when their influence appears stronger than your truth. But that is only because God sometimes allows their plans to grow to full size, so that when he brings them down, the victory is undeniable. God does not just stop their plans, he reverses them. What they meant to harm you becomes the very thing that elevates you. The plot meant to break your spirit becomes the testimony that strengthens it. The door they tried to shut becomes the door God opens wider. The rumor they tried to spread becomes the opportunity for God to reveal your integrity. Their attempt to destroy you becomes the reason God promotes you. You must understand this deeply. God wastes nothing. Every attack, every insult, every lie, every trap becomes material in his hands to build something powerful in your life. Narcissists do not realize that they cannot outsmart God. They are too blinded by their own pride to see the net being woven around their own feet. Scripture repeatedly shows us that God allows the wicked to dig a pit, only for them to fall into it themselves. Their plans recoil, their strategies backfire, and the very thing they designed for your downfall becomes the instrument of their exposure. This is why it is so important that you remain faithful, patient, and calm in the presence of narcissistic warfare. You do not need to retaliate. You do not need to fight using their methods. You do not need to defend yourself at every moment. God will do the defending. God will do the exposing. God will do the reversing. Your role is simply to stand firm, stay humble, and keep your spirit aligned with him. When you do this, you allow God the room to work, and when God works, no human strategy can stand. One of the most beautiful things God does is turn your pain into preparation. Every time the narcissist pushed you down, God was teaching you how to rise. Every time they tried to silence you, God was teaching you how to speak with strength. Every time they made you feel small, God was preparing to enlarge your territory. Their hostility became your training ground. Their rejection became the pathway to your redirection. Their betrayal became the doorway to your breakthrough. What they used as destruction, God uses as development. In the end, the narcissist's plans fail not because you fought harder, but because God fought for you. He stands between you and enemy strategies like a mighty shield. He overturns every destructive intention. He rewrites every negative script, and he transforms every stolen moment into something divinely orchestrated for your future. When God reverses the plans of the proud, He does it completely, beautifully, and unmistakably, so that everyone who watches knows that it was His hand, His power, and His glory at work on your behalf. Pride is a powerful illusion, and narcissists live inside that illusion as if it were unbreakable. They build their identity on the belief that they are superior, irreplaceable, and always right. They stand tall on the pedestal they build for themselves, expecting others to admire, obey, and revolve around them. But God, in His divine wisdom, has established a principle that has never changed. The proud will fall, and the humble will rise. No matter how high a narcissist climbs on the shaky ladder of ego, their elevation is temporary because it is not built by truth, character, or righteousness. It is built by self-worship, and anything built on self-worship will eventually collapse under its own weight. It is only a matter of time before God exposes the fragility of their pride. When God humiliates the prideful, it is not done out of cruelty. It is done out of justice and divine alignment. God cannot allow pride to reign forever because pride destroys everything it touches: relationships, trust, peace, and dignity. Narcissists often create chaos around them, and for a while, it may seem like they are getting away with everything. People may believe their lies, they may gain temporary influence, they may succeed in their manipulation. But God sees the difference between temporary success and true success. He allows their ego to rise just enough so that when the fall happens, everyone can see that it was not human hands that brought them down, but God's divine reordering. The fall of a narcissist is often quiet at first. Their tactics stop working, their charm loses effectiveness, people begin to see through their facade, their control weakens, their words no longer carry the same weight. It's as if God slowly pulls the curtain back, inch by inch, until the truth becomes undeniable. And when the curtain is fully opened, the narcissist can no longer hide behind excuses, manipulation, or crafted narratives. They are left standing in the open with their pride exposed for what it truly is: emptiness. But while God deals with the proud, He simultaneously lifts up the humble. Humility is not weakness, it is strength under control. Humility is choosing integrity over manipulation, compassion over domination, truth over deception. And God honors it deeply. He sees the quiet endurance of the humble, those who kept kindness alive when they were mistreated, those who kept faith alive when they were doubted, those who kept love alive when they were rejected. Humility attracts the hand of God because it reflects His character. When you remain humble, even in the presence of arrogance, you place yourself in a position where God can elevate you without fear that pride will corrupt you. The elevation of the humble is a process. God strengthens your character, shapes your spirit, and prepares your heart so that when He lifts you up, the blessing does not destroy you. Narcissists chase positions, but the humble are given positions. Narcissists demand recognition, but the humble are recognized by heaven. Narcissists fight for control, but the humble are entrusted with influence. When God promotes the humble, it is permanent because it is rooted in righteousness, not ego. You must understand that your humility in the presence of narcissistic pride is not weakness, it is spiritual maturity. It is evidence that God is shaping you for something greater. While the narcissist was building a throne for themselves, God was building strength inside you. While they were exalting themselves, God was preparing to take them down. And while they were belittling you, God was positioning you. There is no fall more severe than the fall of the proud, and no rise more beautiful than the rise of the humble. In the end, God's justice is perfect. The proud fall by their own pride, and the humble rise by God's hand. And when God lifts you up, no narcissist, no enemy, no critic, and no weapon formed against you can pull you down. This is the unshakable promise of God. Pride collapses, humility ascends, and his children are always safe in his divine order. God gives his children victory and freedom, and this is not a promise of partial or temporary relief. It is a guarantee of complete triumph for those who belong to him. When you have been oppressed, manipulated, or abused by a narcissist, it can feel as though your life is trapped under a heavy weight. You may feel powerless, voiceless, and worn down by the constant battle to protect your heart, your mind, and your spirit. But the truth is that God does not allow oppression to last forever. He is the God of deliverance, the God of justice, and the God of restoration. Every plan of the enemy, every scheme of the proud, every attempt to suppress your life is ultimately under the control of God, and he has already written the story of your victory. When the narcissist tries to dominate, control, or intimidate you, they are only revealing their own weakness. God, however, turns what was meant to enslave you into a platform for liberation. He removes the chains that were meant to bind your spirit. He opens doors that were meant to be closed. He brings clarity to situations that were clouded with confusion. And most importantly, he restores your heart to a place of peace, where fear and anxiety no longer rule. Freedom in God is not just the absence of oppression. It is the presence of his power working on your behalf to rebuild, renew, and strengthen every area of your life. Victory in God does not always arrive the way we expect. Sometimes it is dramatic and unmistakable, and other times it is quiet, almost imperceptible, yet profoundly effective. It may come as a sudden revelation, a restored relationship, a renewed sense of purpose, or the dismantling of the narcissist's power in your life. What matters is that it comes, and it comes fully. God ensures that the oppression you endured is not wasted, that the pain you felt is transformed into wisdom, strength, and testimony. Every trial, every tear, every moment of heartache becomes the soil in which God plants seeds of triumph. One of the most important truths about God's victory is that it cannot be stolen, blocked, or diminished by human hands. Narcissists may continue to scheme, lie, and manipulate, but God's plans are higher than theirs. His timing is perfect, and his justice is sure. When he delivers, it is complete and unmistakable. He does not merely level the playing field, he elevates you above the forces that sought to harm you. He gives you authority over circumstances, clarity over confusion, and peace over chaos. What the narcissist tried to destroy, God restores tenfold, often in ways that far surpass what you could have imagined. Freedom in God also comes with inner transformation. While the narcissist sought to define your identity by lies, criticism, and control, God restores your sense of self. He reminds you who you truly are, beloved, chosen, and deeply valued. You are not what others said about you or how they treated you. You are what God created you to be. The victory God provides is not only external, but internal. It strengthens your spirit, renews your hope, and fortifies your faith so that you are no longer easily shaken by the pride, manipulation, or cruelty of others. God's victory also equips you to live boldly without fear or hesitation. You no longer need to navigate life in anxiety or restraint. You are free to speak, act, and love in alignment with God's will. Your voice, once silenced by intimidation, now carries authority and clarity. Your steps, once cautious, now move confidently in the direction God has set for you. The narcissist's attempts to hold power over you dissolve in the presence of God's favor, and the freedom you experience becomes a testimony, not just for you, but for others who may be trapped under the weight of manipulation, abuse, or oppression. Ultimately, God gives his children victory and freedom because that is his character. He cannot tolerate injustice forever, and he delights in setting the oppressed free. The liberation he provides is not fleeting or fragile. It is enduring and transformative. And as you walk in the freedom and victory that only God can provide, you become a living testimony that no matter how powerful a narcissist appears, no matter how much they try to control or harm, the hand of God is greater, His justice is sure, and His children are always triumphant.